Well, hey there, good morning. It is Monday, August 8th. Tons of racing this weekend. Lots coming up in August. People trying to qualify for world championships in Finland and for 70.3. People starting to prepare really in depth for their Kona quest in early October. Collins Cup coming up in 2 weeks. ECFIT athletes are definitely going to be well represented at the Collins Cup, which if you haven't or don't know what that is, it will be worth checking out because it's going to be a really amazing group of athletes, the best in the world, competing head to head. So this is a really exciting time in endurance sports, and we've just gotten through the World Track and Field Championships and just fall marathons, like so many things coming up to look forward to. And so with that in mind, every single Monday, we started this thing over a year ago where we showed up every single Monday for you guys. And I think from a strength coaching perspective and a movement specialist and just somebody who's passionate about helping people, it has just been my pleasure to just continually show up with my friend, Dr. Pat Helma, who covered me last week on Monday Mobility. So every Monday we want to start by just kind of figuring out how the body is feeling. And so understanding who you are and how you feel is probably the most important thing that you can do. So I want to take you through a couple of movements today. We do about 15 to 20 minutes every single Monday morning. As you can see, there's a backlog in the playlist called Monday Mobility. I don't think they've gotten better. I don't think they've gotten worse, but every single Monday will be valuable movement strategies to make sure that your body is just functioning the best that it can. So I typically show up a little bit early, and if we do, just like when my athletes show up in the gym, we just hit the foam roller. And it is something that I'm an advocate for every single day for people, just as far as tissue maintenance and tissue care. But I really, really want to reemphasize that pain with foam rolling is not your friend, especially on Mondays. There's going to be differing opinions on that. Sometimes people think you should have tears rolling down your face. I just think that the tissue doesn't respond in a positive way when you're in pain. You know, your nervous system just upregulates to protect you. So we're going to start down at the bottom of the body again. And I say again because we pretty much do this every single time. Getting comfortable with repetition is part of being a competitive athlete and being a serious athlete about self-care. So let's get the foam roller just below the calf muscle here and the soleus, which is very inferior to the calf muscle, the big gastroc. So we're right below the big calf muscle. And we're just rolling side to side, just get that little bit of pressure. And then we'll move it about 1 inch closer to the foot. The foam roller goes 1 inch closer to the foot, and we just work through that tissue. And if you're running hard, or if you're training hard, or if you're racing hard, that tissue is going to have a response, and we want to help it speed up the recovery process. And by adding foam rolling, we're adding circulation and just a little bit more blood flow to an area that typically is a little bit more challenged. Okay, change legs. We'll hit to the other side again, starting it right below the calf muscle and just rolling it side to side. Most people, me included, when they go lateral, so the foam roller is on the outside of your calf, out there by the fibularis muscles, used to be known as the peroneals, same muscles. That's where I would get a little bit more of a reaction. And even my toes right now are doing weird things as I put a little bit of pressure on the peroneals, which shows that they are affected by the tightness there. And if your toes are stuck and you can't spread them out, which I'm kind of good at that, but I have some athletes that can do like that. That's insane. Okay, so let's move it down about 1 inch, get down a little bit closer to the ankle. As some of you know that show up every week, I broke my ankle 6 weeks ago. I'm really doing well. I just started my return to run program last week. This week I'll be running 3 times a week, so I'm pretty excited. And I think that the movement has really helped me. The commitment to good mobility through the body has really helped me recover faster. It doesn't mean you'll recover as fast as me. You might even recover faster than me. But there's never a guarantee, but it definitely isn't hurting, the fact that I do a lot of movement training for my own body. Okay, so working through that lower calf. And then let's take it right up to the lateral aspect of the hips. We're just going to get the hot spots today. So the outside of the glute, right on the outside of the head of the femur, there's a ton of muscles that attach out there, and we want to make sure that we just give them a little bit of gentle massage here. So I'm using my arm. Use your arm to unload you a little bit so that that's not too painful. We don't want a pain response when we're doing foam rolling. So just nice and simple, easy movement. Let's not stay on any spots today. That's another technique. It's a very good technique of just kind of staying on tissue. And let's get to the other side, lateral aspect of the hip. And you can feel a little bit of the sits bone right there, and then you can get to the outside of the femur. There it is. And just work through that. And that's kind of where the IT band begins, right at that TFL and glute max. They just meld right into that IT band. So let's get above the IT band. Okay, good. All right, face down. We'll take that foam roller. We're gonna lay on your stomach. And then let's start over here because you can see this one better. Bring the knee up to the height of the hip. And let's just get the foam roller perpendicular to that big femur bone there, the big upper leg, and just work through the inner thigh. So my foot's on the ground right now. So I'm in a little bit of external rotation in the hip because the foot is on the ground. Let's take that all the way up next to the pubic bone and just work all the way through those adductors. The inner thigh muscles, we call those the adductor muscles, ADD, adductors. Take it right down by the knee. Okay, so this is external rotation. Let's lift the foot up, put you into internal rotation, and some of you might have just gone, oh my God. So when you lift the foot up, you start to put a little bit of a stretch on those external rotators, as you ask them to go into internal rotation, and all of a sudden you find a little bit of spicy. And we want to keep moving. I don't want you to have that big pain response. I'm having to really unload that, and this is me coming back to running. So I don't know how you feel, but most of my athletes, when I put them into internal rotation and ask them to foam roll their adductors, it lights it up just a little bit. So that's just telling us that those muscles are not fully recovered. They're still a work in progress as far as coming back and being able to do the work. If we don't do the mobility stuff, if we don't do the tissue care, those muscles will keep going one direction, and that's towards tightness. And a tight muscle is not a strong or effective muscle. All the way up by the pubic bone on the other side, foot's on the floor, so the hip's in a little bit of external rotation. Let's take that all the way down by the knee. Woo. And then let's do the magic. You ready? Okay, lift that foot up. And a lot of times, they talk about assessment, they talk about measurement. You can measure an athlete and their level of discomfort or comfort by the look on their face. So just, if you have a mirror, just take a look. So that's telling me those adductors are getting tight. And that's a response to good work, hard work, new movements. And we're just opening up the movement bubble. Good? Okay, let's take that foam roller right up to the lats and the upper back. So we're going to start right below the shoulder blades. And let's go hands behind the head. And right there, let the weight of the elbows just kind of fall to the outside. You might feel a little bit of tension through your chest. And we want to start working the rib cage expansion and using the breath. So a nice big inhale. And you should feel your rib cage expand and then contract. We'll talk in just a second about maintaining space between the ribs and the hips. But right now, with the foam roller right on your back, hands supporting your neck, I want you to expand your rib cage with your breath. So right there, neutral neck, and just a big inhale. And then exhale. Let's go 2 more big breaths. On the next exhale, we're going to wrap that upper back around the foam roller. Inhale and exhale. Support the head and just get that nice big stretch. Take a big breath here now. Stay in extension. You might look different or feel different than I do, but I can feel biceps. I can feel pecs. And let's just expand the rib cage from this position. Nice big breath in and exhale. Big inhale and exhale. Big inhale and exhale. Okay, good. Let's go right into the armpit. This lower arm, thumb is going to be up, and we're just going to roll forward. So let's take that offhand, reach to the front, and then go ahead and reach to the back, to the front. See if you can take that top leg and put it in that extended position. So you might even have a little bit of tension right here. Reach forward, and then exhale. Reach forward and exhale. That spine is starting to wake up here. 3, 4, and one more. And 5, and back. Okay, good. Let's hit the other side. Same thing. So we've got a little bit of pressure on the lats. Top leg is going to go into extension. Bottom leg just stays long. Thumb is up. From right here, stack the hips. So don't let the hips lay open. Push that hip forward. Oh, this side's a little different. So my left ankle was broken 6 weeks ago, and I'll tell you, the whole body has a response to that trauma and to that change in anatomy. Because that's essentially when you have an accident, you have a change in anatomy, you have a change in the way your body's functioning. And we want to bring it as close back to normal, my normal, as I possibly can. Good. And back, and one more. Good and good. Okay, for this next one, we're going to take a little walk down foundation training lane. I'm going to have to take my hat off. I'll put that back on in just a second. We want to lay face down. Let's put knees together, toes together, heels apart. Okay, so that's an anchor. Set that anchor down low. Fingertips, wrists, elbows, and shoulders off the ground. And just look straight down. From right there, just see if you can wiggle your rib cage away from your pubic bone just a little bit more. Walk your fingers a little bit further away from your shoulders. And from right there, we're just going to hold. And I've got a lot of tension through my upper back. You want to pull your chin into your chest and just nice, strong neck position. Knees together, toes together. Let's give a little bit of a squeeze to the knees. From right there, let's lift the hands straight off the ground. We're going to go 5 breaths here. Keep your fingertips facing down. Two more big breaths. Squeeze the knees. And down. Good. So that activates or switches on the posterior chain, the back side of the body. Let's flip that right over onto your back. So mobility is enhanced by activation and switching muscles on. So if I want to open up the front side of the body, it's going to be really important for me to activate the back side of the body. So once we get that activation, we can start bringing balance into the body a little bit more. So let's lay on our backs. And all I want you to do is very comfortably pull your pubic bone towards your belly button. And it's a nice, gentle, I don't want you to do it really hard, but just pull that pubic bone towards the belly button. You're going to feel this lower abdominal muscles and the transverse abdominals all kind of come together. And I don't want to say a big muscle contraction. I just want it to come together. So if you just poke around your stomach, especially the lower part, you're going to feel that it's switched on. So just hold that position. Low back is strong into the floor, right? We're not trying to do a bench press or anything crazy, but just low back, nice and flat into the floor, pubic bone to belly button. And if you feel your hip bones, they should feel quite flat. So if I make space, go ahead and do this with me. If I make space in my low back here, I can, like a mouse could run under that. And then feel your hip bones. They're going to feel pointy. Now go ahead and close that little tunnel down. Pubic bone to belly button, lower abdominals and transverse muscle activation. And just switch that on. Right now, let's tabletop the legs. Keep the lower abdomen on. Knees are nice and strong from right there. Hold that position. And we're just going to drop the left heel down, come back up. And we don't want any motion in the pelvis. The pelvis stays neutral. Good. We're just working through that neutral pelvis. Pull the pubic bone to belly button. Now try to relax into it. And let's just put fingertips together over the height of your heart towards the sky. Soft elbows. We got 6 more of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. 5 and 6. And now feet to the ground. From that position, we're going to take you right up into a bridge. So from that position, keep your knees in just a little bit. There's a bias towards the midline of the body. So from right there, if you've been working and your hip flexors are working hard, your knees are going to want to flare out to the side. Keep those knees straight out. So if you had a yoga block or a ball like this between your knees, we would be getting this balance between adductors and abductors, the lateral aspect of the hip. Now I'm going to just throw down the fact that as soon as I put that ball in there, I got a hamstring cramp. And that's because I have less muscle activation on the lateral aspect of my hip. So I'm going to reset, come back up. Glutes are on. I can feel them on. Adductors are on. I can feel them on. And now I'm going to just work my breath. So from right there, let's go fingertips towards the ground. If you don't have a ball, don't worry about it. Just keep your knees in. Hold that nice and strong. Hold those glutes. Hold them. Isometric contraction. Hold it. And now let your hands float over your head and see if you can find more space now between the ribs and the hips. And let's go 5 big breaths. Hold. If your hamstrings are cramping, I want you to reset. And come on back, and come on back. So as soon as we add the overhead position, we start to add length, and we start to add length through the torso. The ribs are pulling away from the hips. And when the ribs pull away from the hips, the organs are happier. The psoas muscle gets longer, and it starts to be able to do its job and do some work, right? So I'm going to take a Viper. If you don't have or don't know what a Viper is, put a comment in the comment boxes, and I will do another fresh Viper workout here on YouTube for you guys. But Vipers are one of our strength training tools that I use as part of the ECFIT training. So we're just going to use it like a wall. If you don't have a Viper, no big deal. You can use your foam roller. You can use anything. And all we're going to do is work a little bit of hip mobility on the right side. We're going to work ankle mobility and knee mobility on the left. So right there, pull your rib cage nice and high. I've got a little tension back and come back. If you can go 3 inches from the wall or from the Viper and keep your lead heel on the ground. 2, 3. And you start to realize that tightness in your left ankle can have a really serious impact on your ability to hip extend on the other side. 5, 6, nice and control. 7, using gravity a little bit to push and work this ankle a little bit. 8, 9, and 10. and keeping in that same mindset of creating space and elevation. So we've got about 3 inches on the toe to wall. Nice big breath, hands on hips, head tall as well. 1, 2, we'll do 4 and then see if we can move the foot back just a little bit. And good. Let's bring that foot back just about a half an inch. Keep the head really tall. If you got a little calf and soleus stretch there, just kind of breathe into it. It's not flexibility Monday, although your flexibility will get better. But mobility is your ability to control all the movements with your nervous system. Good. Keep working through it. Good. And good. All right. I want you to use a Viper if you have one. If you don't, use your foam roller. We've got different weights to the Viper. And what Vipers do is they just help adding load. This is a 4K Viper. If you are going to buy a Viper, buy a 4K. Just because you're strong doesn't mean you should get a heavier Viper. I'll explain that in another episode. Okay, so let's go down onto half kneeling position. This is midnight with my lead knee. This is 10:30. So don't take it all the way to 9. Leave it at 10:30. Okay? So the first round of this, I'm going to use the foam roller. We're going to take the foam roller, take it up over the head, and all at the same time, we're going to work that ankle mobility from 10:30, from that little bit of an open hip, okay? So now we're getting adductor mobility, all right? So we're going up and drive that knee over the foam roller, or over the toe. 2, knees over toes. 3, 4, 5, 6, open the chest, 7, we're staying with 8 today. 8's a great number for Mondays. Okay, so here would be half kneeling with the right side. We go to 230, right? The knee's just 230, not 3, not out here. Okay, right there. We got 8 reps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep lifting your chest. Maybe take a big inhale. 5, 6, 7. One more. And 8. Okay, good. Now for the next one, if you've got your foam roller, it can be a small foam roller too. There's no rules on this thing. I'm going to use a Viper. And here's how we might use a Viper with some mobility. This is 4K, so it's just under 10 pounds. We're going to take the knee over toe, and we're going to rotate back the way that we came. 1. So I'm getting a little bit more load to my system using the Viper. 3, 4, 5, stronger upper back, stronger posture. 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. We're going. I went right by 8. You can tell I'm pent up, ready to get after some good training. Okay, right leg out. And we take that back the way we came. 10 reps. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and good. Okay, let's put the Viper away, get it up into a standing position. We're just going to go into a nice wide stance, using that half sphere of tension, pushing your hips back. So we're just working that hip hinge. Hips go to the back, nice and flat on your back. To enhance that, stretch through the chest, take the palms, put it right on the butt, just like that. Okay, from right here, push the hips back. Keep that head in a nice neutral position. So make sure you're not face up. Just keep your chin back, chest up, and come right back. We're going hamstring, loading, hip hinge. 2, 3. Chest is open. See if you can pull your elbows even closer together in the back. Here we go. Load up the heels right there and then bring it back. Good. And good. So the hip hinge is what keeps you from using your spine to flex. So we want to be able to only move through the hips, not the spine, okay? All right, so we've got the hip hinge. Stand to a nice wide stance. Push the hips back. Reach for the floor. If you can't get to the floor, use your foam roller. If you can't get to the foam roller, use a box, use a chair. We're going to go right to there, right? So we're starting to add that same principle of creating space between the ribs and the hips to be able to add load to the lower body. And then come right back up. The hips come back. So this is a little bit of a forward fold. Hips to the back. Reach for the ground. If you have your foam roller, see if you can push that out. Make sure you're not rounding your spine right now. We're not doing that. Come back up. Straight down. Push the hips back. Fingertips to the foam roller. Come right back up. We're going to go 2 more of these. Tip the hips back. Come right back. Tip the hips. Come right back. Okay, a little bit more focus on the lower part of the leg now. So when we do that forward fold, I want to make sure, go ahead and look down at your feet right now. Are they here? If they're turned out, that means your hips are in external rotation. Your hips are open. So let's close the hips up just a little bit. So if you're like me and you have a little bit of tightness in those peroneals, also known as fibularis muscles, this is going to give them a little bit more length. So we're getting more mobility through the ankle and through that very typical lower leg tightness that will really inhibit your ability to shock absorb when running. So turn the toes in. Hips are in that nice strong adductor position. We're pushing the hips back first. We're going to glide to the right and come right back up. And I'm using my arms as a counterbalance. Push the hips back first. Glide to the left. 2. We got 10 of these. 3, 4, 5. Starting to reach back a little bit. So if you're gliding to the left, reach back to the right to enhance that adductor stretch. We're going to go 6 more of these and then call it a morning. 1, 2, push your hips back. 3, 4, 5, 1 more, and 6. All right, so like I started this episode, in the playlist, Monday Mobility, I think we've got over 50 episodes of just short little movement snippets for you to use. Share it with your friends. Share that you're doing Monday Mobility if you find it beneficial. It'd be great to keep growing the audience. I hope you have an amazing week of training. You can put in the comments anything you'd like to see more of or any questions that you have. Make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell. You'll get notified when I actually do bring you guys an additional Viper workout. Hope you have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Aloha.